Hello everybody, this is Shane. I want to welcome you to Takeover Tuesday. Now listen, the next couple of episodes are going to be life-changing for you, your leadership, and your leadership team, because I'm going to be talking about some things that if they're not dealt with, they cause some severe confusion in your organization. Today, I want to talk about communication, and I'm going to do this in a segment of a series of episodes over the course of the next several weeks, probably about 3 to 4, 5 weeks, because I want to eat this elephant one bite at a time, but I'm doing it because I want to help you deal with some of the things that I have to deal with on an ongoing basis, and every leader has to deal with. So let's talk about communication and how important that it is. And if I could title what I want to share with you, I'd call it The Language That Leads, because there really is a language. And over this past week, I was really thinking about my staff, and I was thinking about our organizational culture. And then I was thinking about all of you who watch this and share it with your leadership teams as well. And I felt like that really the Lord prompted me to put something down. And I want to read it to you, and I want to springboard off of it today. The Lord just began to remind me that great teams are built, broken, and they're also rebuilt by great communication. And so that's the reason I'm going to focus on it. But here's the thing that really shook me is I really, in my prayer time and my leadership time, as I was pondering where we are as an organization currently, and then how I'm leading other organizations as well, and hearing what pastors and leaders are dealing with all over America, I feel like all of a sudden, just like the Lord just spoke this to me, and you might want to write it down because I believe it's going to be very important for you in your leadership journey. He said, Shane, he said, you can't have strong culture with weak communication. You can't have powerful ministry with passive messaging. And then he said, you will never have a healthy alignment when there's hidden agendas. Those three things are so important for you as you develop with your staff and your leadership team a language that leads. Because if you don't get those three areas right, it's going to break down everything else you try to do. It's going to undermine all the things you do to try to establish good communication. And I'm finding that even though this generation is more connected socially wise than ever before in history, they don't know how to communicate real well. And I'm hearing this across the board, and it's become a burden of my heart to not only have a great culture of communication where I lead, but to help all of you do the same. So let's focus on just those three statements. First of all, he said, Shane, you cannot have a strong culture with weak communication. Communication is the foundation. It's the bedrock of your culture. And leader, let me just tell you, you cannot over-communicate. This is what I found. You cannot over-communicate. I know many of you are like me. You get frustrated because you'll announce things, you'll design graphics, you'll post things to social media 10,000 times only to get to the day of that event, and then all of a sudden people be calling you saying, hey, is it today? Or what time is it? Where's the meeting happening? And in my mind, I'm thinking, what did I do not to communicate effectively that they didn't get it? Now, every culture is different. Every organization is different. And you're going to have to figure out the flow of communication and what works. But I just want you to listen to me today. You can't build a strong culture without great communication. You can have all the principles in the world that you're living by, but you have to have great communication as the underlying bedrock that you build upon with your culture. And then let me deal with the second line. He said, you can't have a powerful ministry with passive messaging. Now, leader, assumption you know what assumption does to all of us. It really makes a tale out of every single one of us. I have found that I can't leave anything up in the air to assumption. I can't have any question marks across the board. So when you're building this strong culture of communication, be aggressive with your messaging. Again, you're not going to over communicate. You will always under communicate. So be aggressive with your messaging and require all of your teams to do the same. If not, you're never going to build in your organization a language that leads. So be aggressive. The third thing is you'll never have healthy alignment with hidden agendas. Now, every great leader, if they're strong leaders, naturally have a little bit of an agenda behind what they're doing. But if there is a hidden agenda that is different than the stated goals and objectives, the vision of the house, so to speak, those hidden agendas silently erode like an undercurrent constantly. You know, here in the hills of Tennessee, it's not uncommon for us to, hear about houses that are having foundational problems, and, they might be 30, 40, 50 years old, even 100 years old, never had a foundational problem. And all of a sudden there's a foundational issue. And then when they bring out the geologists and the geotechnical people to study what's going on, they find that sinkholes have developed because we have these caverns, or they'll find a stream, a brook somewhere, an underground stream that is running underneath. Now, it took it 50 years to finally catch up to where it started to affect the house, the foundation of the house. But that hidden flow was what caused the biggest problem. So, work hard, leader, at, being sensitive to the hidden agendas of people's hearts and mind. And don't let them bring the hidden agenda to the table. We're going to talk about this later in another segment, but ego has got to be removed for you to have some real clarity. But again, this is a difficult thing that I have found to navigate. And the reason for that is because I try to hire or pick aggressive people in my organization. I hate having to tell people what to do all the time. It just drives me nuts. I know you do the same. So, as a result of that, let me just say, I naturally hire people that are so strong in their leadership that if I'm not careful, there'll be a hidden agenda that will go to working that is contrary to my organization's goals and the vision. And eventually, it might not do it immediately, it might not show up immediately, but eventually it will erode the foundation of your organization, and you'll never be able to develop a culture that has a language of leadership and communication. And so I'm going to leave you with this thought today, and I want you to hear me, because I want this to be a resounding warning to every leader, especially people who are leading nonprofits or specifically churches. And I want you to listen to me, Pastor. I want you to listen to me today. I want you to lean in, because I've been doing this for 36 years and I have been through my fair share of battles. Whenever you have an organization that is growing, you have various growth barriers that you have to try to get across. And when you take a small organization, let's say a small church, and you grow it, when your first barrier is going to be that 100 to 150 mark. And you'll find that all of your struggles, up to about really 200 to 300 people, all of your struggles are going to come from the bulk of the congregational setting. And the reason for that is you don't have a big staff. And most of your people that are leading are volunteers. And so, people in the congregational setting, they get to talking and then that's when division can set in. So the enemy, up to about 300 or so, and really at the 500 mark is where I see this, the enemy can always cause division, confusion from the congregational setting. But once you get past that 300 to 500 mark, again, 500 seems to be the magic number that I've run into over 36 years. When you get to that 500 mark, what happens is that the enemy wants to destroy your organization. He can't do it from the outside. He has to do it from the inside. So he starts by dividing your staff. And then he does the division of your staff. His method of dividing your staff is by the deconstruction of good communication. That's where it starts every single time. People start misunderstanding each other, and it is a sign to you that the spirit of assassination has been set against your organization, and it's coming through your leadership. So your staff and your board, when you get 300 to 500 people, your staff and your board become very essential. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see pastors make, especially, is they stop at a certain point pastoring their staff. So I just want to speak to people who are listening today. I know you might have a great administrator. I know you might have an incredible associate pastor, leader, who's been with you a long time, and it's a trusted voice. But I just want to tell you, as the senior leader of your organization, nobody carries the weight or authority that you do. And anytime the shepherd's voice is gone and another voice fills that vacuum, it's inevitable that there's going to be some kind of breakdown in communication. Remember this, leader, if you're a pastor, people are not called to a building. They're called to you. It took me a long time to get my mind wrapped around that and accept that. They're called to you. They're called to giftings, and they're called to anointings. And so they want to hear from you. Now, I know that puts a great burden and a great pressure on you, but there are ways that you can communicate your heart, your desire through your leadership team. You just got to be very careful in how you navigate that. So today, that's just all I want to share with you. This is just the beginning of something that I'm going to teach you over the next several weeks. We're going to dive into some really heavy stuff as we develop a language that leads. And over the course of the next several weeks, I'm actually going to go into how to deal with problematic people who are always sowing the seed of division with their words. So today I just want to encourage you. God's put you in the place that you're in. You're strong enough to overcome. You're going to take over because that is how you were designed. I hope you enjoyed this Takeover Tuesday moment. If you did, like, subscribe, and share for me. And be looking out next week as we continue talking about building a language that leads. I'll see you next Tuesday.